Education in the humanities is designed to teach you how to think and to speak and to formulate arguments. The proper use of a schedule enables you to have the maximum amount of freedom while also maintaining the responsibility necessary to stop your life from auguring into the ground. If you aim at something and you aim carefully and thoughtfully, that you will orient yourself in a manner that makes you aware of the opportunities that will arise that will put you in that direction. Someone asks, how do you find the self-authoring autobiography outline? Well, you go to selfauthoring.com. It's available there. You get older than 40, and our culture is kind of dopey in that regards. It's underdeveloped. We live as if we only exist when we're young, and we don't. It's like, what are you going to do from the ages of, say, 45 to 90 or 95? You need a family around you. You need to see your children grow. You need to have grandchildren. It's a major part, maybe the most important part of the last half of life. Instead of doing a bad job, even though that's a very interesting question, I'm afraid I'm going to skip that. Out of such imaginings, what is it that you are offering people as a concrete alternative? It degenerates as soon as it becomes cynical. I think many times the moral thing to do is to take your guilty secrets to the grave. You've considered such things as, do you have a sufficient number of joint interests, and are you oriented in the same direction with regards to how you're going to handle your joint careers and the possibility of children and the manner in which you're going to interact with your in-laws? Who's responsible for the meals and when, and what are you going to eat, and who's going to get groceries, and who's going to pay the bills, and who's going to do which part of what household chores there are to do, and how is that going to be laid out fair? You have the rope and strand of your life, and your partner has the strands and the rope of his or her life, and then those are tied together to make a stronger rope. A lot of what you do to formulate good questions is listen. Like if you're engaged in dialogue with someone and you really listen to what they're saying, all you have to do is notice when you don't understand what they're saying and then ask them for a clarification. What you do to formulate good questions is admit your own ignorance to yourself and then try to articulate that ignorance as clearly and simply as you possibly can. And so I do that all the time when I'm in my clinical sessions with people, because they'll be telling me the story of their life years ago perhaps, or maybe events over the last few weeks or whatever, and they'll tell me the story and I'll detect elements of it that I don't understand or that are unclear or that seem self-contradictory. And so then I'll just ask. It says, well, I don't understand what you're saying there. You said this as far as I can tell, but that wasn't clear. What exactly do you mean? And so and get them to articulate it. And maybe I'll say, well, you said this now, but you said this, 10 minutes ago. And as far as I can tell, those two things are opposites. And so how do you bridge the gap between those things? But the critical issue with regards to good questions is that you admit to yourself your own ignorance and you're not embarrassed about it. Like, there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. Well, that's not true. It's a terrible thing to be ignorant, but it's inevitable. The students who do really well in classes are the ones who ask basic questions. They put up their hand and say, look, everyone else here seems to understand this, but this is a point that I really don't get. And, rarely a person asks a question like that and they haven't been listening and they haven't been paying attention and they're just being annoying. But most of the time, people who do that have been paying attention and they're asking a question that everyone else in the room would also like to ask but is embarrassed to do so.